unaccompanied immigrant children, who, in case you're not familiar with that definition, are kids under the age of 18 without lawful immigration status and without a parent or guardian in the United States able to provide for their care and custody when they arrive on the southern border, or when they enter the United States, in other words.
First, number one, we want to identify unaccompanied immigrant children. And the way we can do that is by asking 3 simple questions. And I know that there's a lot of feeling of discomfort about asking questions, especially in this political environment around someone's immigrant status. But I think once you explain to the families, and I think it's extremely important to explain why you're asking these questions, because you want to get them the services that they need, and that you want to be able to take care of them comprehensively. I think that's super important. And once families feel that sensitivity and understand what you're doing, then I think they're more willing to disclose certain information. But 3 questions you could ask a child or ask a family: is the child an unaccompanied immigrant child? Is one, were they caught at the U.S. border? Like, how did they get to the United States? So for unaccompanied children, the vast majority crossed the southern border of the United States, the U.S.-Mexican border. You could ask, were they caught or apprehended at the border, and how old were they? So if they were under 18 and they were apprehended at the border and they don't come from Mexico, they're most likely eligible for this designation. And then the last question, as part of those 3 questions, were who were you with when you got apprehended? So the definition of not having a parent or a legal guardian with you is when you're apprehended at the border, right? So to review, being under 18 years of age, having no legal status, being caught or apprehended by immigration officials, and being apprehended without a parent or a legal guardian. So you want to ask those questions. If those questions are all positive, then they're most likely they can receive that designation. You should be thinking as a physician to, who are my legal partners that I can send this child to, and I could ask, or maybe the next question would be, do you have a lawyer? And if you don't have a lawyer, who can I send them to? And it's important to start, if you're going to be working with immigrant populations, to start identifying who those lawyers are in your community. It's really important to be able to hand that case over to somebody. I don't know, do you want to say something about that?
Yeah, one thing that just came to mind is the importance of stating that designation doesn't give them any immigration benefit. In fact, one of the things it signifies is that the patient that's sitting in your exam room or in your office is in removal proceedings, meaning that the government is trying to deport them from the United States. So there's a real urgency to working with an unaccompanied immigrant child. And that's why when Dr. Shapiro is talking about identifying the legal partner, it's important that you do that right away, because they may already have a lawyer who's looking to connect with you as their physician and may need help from you right away. It's very important that the right tone be struck in terms of asking questions that might not normally get asked. And to me, I think one of the things that's important to say is, just from the beginning, I want you to know that everything that you say in this office will be confidential. It won't be shared with anyone else, including your immigration status, if you don't want us to. Right. And the way that I always say it is, I work with some really great doctors, and I think that together as a team, we could work really well together for you if that's something you are interested in.
And now that you bring that up, I should just state very blatantly that, of course, we get a HIPAA release before we release any of this information, or before we start talking to each other about a case. So that is just part and parcel of what we do.
I mean, that's so essential and necessary. And to me, I think for both of us, actually, it starts even a step before that, which is even before we start talking to each other, I make sure that the child knows about you, and I think vice versa, so that before we even have that conversation, they have this sense that there's multiple people who are sort of keeping an eye on them. Wow. And that's one of the most important things from my perspective about what a medical legal partnership like this can bring.